let me take you back to a time when people lived with less, but somehow had more. More connection, more community, more purpose. In the 1940s, families stretched every dollar, reused what they had, and found joy in simple things. It was not easy, but it was honest. And today, as life feels more rushed and expensive, those old lessons feel more valuable than ever. I was raised by a single mother and later helped care for my aging parents. Through those years, I discovered something powerful. Living frugally is not about being cheap. It is about being mindful. It is about choosing to value what truly matters: peace of mind, health, family, and freedom. In this video, I will share 10 timeless frugal living lessons from the 1940s that still make sense today. Whether you are retired, on a fixed income, or simply seeking a simpler life, these lessons offer more than just savings. They offer a path to a richer, more grounded way of living. 1. Make do and mend. The strength in simplicity. There is an image from early life that remains clear. Sitting at the kitchen table, watching skilled hands mend a pair of worn socks. The fabric was thin, the colors faded, but there was care in every stitch. There was no complaint, just quiet concentration, as if the act itself held meaning. That moment taught a lesson more valuable than any textbook ever could. Things are worth saving. In the 1940s, especially through the Great Depression and the years of war, the idea of throwing something away simply because it was broken or old was almost unheard of. Clothes were patched, furniture was fixed, and tools were sharpened or repaired, not replaced. It was not about being frugal for frugality's sake. It was a matter of survival, but also of pride. There was a quiet dignity in making something last. One saying from that era captured the spirit perfectly. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. And this was not just personal wisdom. It was national culture. The government even issued guides on repairing clothing and saving household items, encouraging citizens to contribute to the war effort by consuming less and reusing more. Conservation was not just a necessity, it was patriotic. In today's world, the impulse is different. A broken zipper means buying a new jacket. A chair with a loose leg goes to the curb. Stores are full of cheap replacements, and marketing convinces many to keep upgrading. But every replacement has a cost: financial, environmental, even emotional. The truth is, mending things does more than save money. It offers control in a world that often feels rushed and disposable. Repairing something with one's own hands can feel deeply grounding. There is satisfaction in knowing how things work, and even more in giving them new life. Learning to sew, glue, restain, or patch up is not just about saving dollars. It is about preserving stories. That chair passed down through generations. That worn coat from a special occasion. When something is fixed, it carries both history and hope. 2. Cook from scratch. The recipe for resilience. The scent of slow-cooked stew drifting through a home. The rhythm of chopping vegetables on a wooden board. The sound of a pot gently bubbling. These are memories that linger, not because of the recipes, but because of what they represent: care, presence, resourcefulness. In homes across America during the 1930s and 40s, cooking from scratch was more than a choice. It was a necessity, and often a quiet act of love. During World War II, food rationing changed the way people ate. Every American household received a ration book. Meat, sugar, butter, and canned goods were tightly limited. Even gasoline was restricted, so frequent trips to the store were out of the question. As a result, families got creative. Victory gardens appeared in backyards, on rooftops, and even in city parks. By the height of the war, nearly half the produce consumed in the country came from homegrown gardens. Meals were built around what was available, not what was craved. A single chicken could stretch into several dinners. Scraps were saved for broths. Day-old bread became bread pudding or stuffing. Nothing went to waste because nothing could be taken for granted. Today, processed foods and fast takeout have made cooking feel optional. But for those seeking more stability in their budget and more control over health, returning to home cooking can be transformative. Making a pot of soup that lasts 3 meals, baking cornbread from a passed-down recipe, roasting vegetables from a small home garden or local market. These acts nourish more than just the body. Cooking from scratch does not require gourmet skills or expensive tools. It begins with intention. Choosing ingredients, planning simple meals, using what is already in the pantry. And it builds confidence too. There is power in knowing how to feed oneself and others, regardless of what is on the news or what prices are doing at the supermarket. Few know that during the Great Depression, communities even held stone soup dinners, potlucks where everyone contributed a small ingredient, and the final meal was shared by all. It was not just about feeding hunger. It was about reminding people they were not alone. 3. Drink simple, rediscovering the comfort in a cup. Some days, peace can be found in something as simple as a warm cup held between both hands. The first sip of morning tea. The steady comfort of coffee, brewed slowly, not rushed. These are not just habits, they are rituals. And in the quiet of those moments, there is room to breathe, reflect, and feel rooted again. In the past, beverages were not about choice overload or convenience. They were about necessity and comfort. During the 1940s, particularly in wartime, most homes did not have the luxury of soda or specialty drinks. Tea, coffee, tap water, and sometimes milk were staples. A pitcher of lemonade on a summer day was special. A mug of cocoa in winter was treasured. Few realized that during the Great Depression, coffee was often reused. Grounds were dried and brewed again. Sometimes barley or chicory was added to stretch the supply. It was not about flavor. It was about survival. Yet somehow, the act of sitting down with a cup still brought warmth and connection. In today's world, it is easy to lose sight of that. Everywhere there are energy drinks, bottled teas, sugar-packed options in bright packaging. But what do they really offer? A burst of stimulation, maybe, but not calm, not connection. For those seeking a simpler life in later years, returning to the basics can bring more satisfaction than expected. Drinking water throughout the day supports health and saves money. Making coffee at home instead of buying it out adds up over time. Tea, with its soothing qualities, becomes not just a drink, but a moment of mindfulness. There is also the beauty of sharing a cup with someone, inviting a neighbor in, sitting with a loved one, even just watching the sun rise with a warm mug in hand. These are small, quiet acts that cost almost nothing but mean everything. So the next time a fancy drink menu appears, pause. Ask what is really needed. Often, the answer is already at home, in a well-loved mug, steeped in memory, waiting to be poured. 4. Grow something. A garden of purpose. There is something deeply grounding about placing a seed into the soil and watching it grow. In that small act is a reminder that life moves forward even in hard times. Back in the 1940s, gardens were more than hobbies. They were lifelines. During World War II, the United States government encouraged citizens to plant victory gardens to support the war effort, and people responded. Lawns were turned into vegetable plots. Rooftops held rows of tomatoes. Even empty lots became spaces of growth. What many do not know is that by the end of the war, these victory gardens were producing more than 40% of the vegetables consumed in the country. This movement was not just practical, it was powerful. It gave ordinary people a sense of control during uncertain times. For those living on a fixed income today, gardening offers more than food. It brings peace, purpose, and a sense of pride. A few herbs on a windowsill, a tomato vine on a patio, a small raised bed in the backyard. These simple additions can stretch a grocery budget and lift the spirit. There is something about watching a plant grow that reminds the soul it is never too late to begin again. Gardening also connects to health in surprising ways. Studies have shown that older adults who garden experience lower stress levels, improved mobility, and stronger mental focus. It is not just about the harvest. It is about being outside, moving the body, and feeling connected to something larger than daily routine. In the days of the Great Depression, many families survived because they knew how to grow what they ate. Children learned how to weed, water, and pick. Communities often shared tools and tips, trading seeds like gifts. There was a sense of shared knowledge and mutual support. Today, that spirit can return. Whether it is a community garden plot or a single pot of basil by the kitchen sink, the act of growing something still matters. It is a quiet form of independence, a slow, steady kind of hope, and it proves that even in later years, there is still much that can bloom. 5. A modest wardrobe, dressing with intention. In the present day, closets overflow with choices, yet somehow it often feels like there is still nothing to wear. Clothes come and go with the seasons, driven by fast fashion and endless trends. But looking back at the 1930s and 40s tells a different story. A story of intention, practicality, and beauty in simplicity. During the Great Depression, many people owned just a few outfits. One for work, one for Sundays, and a few items for in-between. Clothes were well made and well cared for. Patching a sleeve or rehemming a skirt was common, and every item had meaning. It was not about having more. It was about using what was needed. In the 40s, the idea of a capsule wardrobe quietly emerged. People chose pieces that could be mixed and matched across seasons. Neutral tones, solid fabrics, and classic styles made it easier to dress with ease and dignity. Most importantly, clothing was seen as something to invest in, not dispose of quickly. Few realized that fabric was rationed during World War II. Skirts got shorter not because of fashion trends, but because less material was available. Even zippers and buttons were repurposed from old garments. Creativity flourished because people were challenged to make do. Today, simplifying a wardrobe can offer real relief. It cuts down on decision fatigue, reduces laundry, and makes space in both the home and the mind. Choosing quality over quantity means garments last longer and feel better. Thrift stores and vintage shops carry clothes made to endure, and each item carries a story of where it came from, who wore it, and how it continues on. There is elegance in restraint. A favorite sweater, a well-worn pair of jeans, a coat that has seen many winters. These things do not ask for attention, but they quietly offer comfort. In later years, when every day does not require a formal outfit, it can be refreshing to return to a simpler approach. A modest wardrobe reflects confidence, not scarcity. It is a declaration that worth is not measured in possessions, but in presence. 6. Keep warm the old-fashioned way. Comfort in the cold. Cold winters were once met not with high energy bills, but with cleverness and preparation. In homes across the country, people stayed warm without relying on central heating. Wool blankets, layered clothing, hot water bottles, and sealed-off rooms were the norm. There was a quiet resilience in the way warmth was preserved. What many do not know is that during World War II, fuel was rationed in many American cities. Heating oil and coal were prioritized for factories and military needs. Families were encouraged to heat the person, not the house. That meant wearing more layers indoors and focusing heat in just 1 or 2 rooms. Doorways were covered with curtains to trap warmth. People gathered together for warmth, meals, and company. Those lessons still matter today. Heating costs continue to rise, and for those living on retirement income, every bit saved makes a difference. Wearing a heavy robe in the evening, using thick socks, or placing a rolled towel at the base of a drafty door, these small efforts add up. Modern versions of the same tactics, like energy-efficient space heaters or thermal curtains, follow the same principle: conserve and contain. There's also something comforting about warm rituals: a mug of herbal tea before bed, a shared blanket during a movie. Even lighting a candle can bring emotional warmth when the weather outside feels unkind. Some homes still have fireplaces, and with proper safety and maintenance, they offer both charm and function. But even without a fire, the atmosphere of a cozy space can be created through intention. Reading by a lamp with a blanket across the lap, a soft playlist, a pair of house slippers that have molded to the feet over time. Keeping warm is not just about temperature. It is about feeling safe, settled, and cared for. Those feelings were hard-earned in past generations, and they are just as needed now. 7. Move naturally. Everyday activity. Lifelong strength. Exercise, as we know it today, was not always called that. Back in the 1930s and 40s, most people simply moved, naturally, frequently, and with purpose. They did not need gym memberships or expensive equipment. Life itself kept them active. Walking to work, gardening, sweeping the porch, hanging clothes to dry, these everyday motions were the foundation of physical well-being. During the Great Depression, gyms were a luxury very few could afford, but that did not stop people from staying strong. Newspapers at the time published do-it-yourself workout routines for the home. There were also government programs that encouraged simple stretches and bodyweight movements to keep citizens healthy, especially during the war years when labor was in high demand. What many forget is that motion is medicine, especially as we age. For those in later years, movement does not have to be intense to be beneficial. A walk around the block, gentle stretches in the morning, or even dancing to a favorite song in the living room all support mobility, balance, and heart health. Staying active also supports independence. Something as simple as being able to reach a high shelf, bend to tie shoes, or carry groceries makes daily life smoother and more empowering. The body responds to use. It does not need to be pushed, but it does need to be invited. Moving naturally also means connecting with joy, sweeping the patio on a cool morning, watering the garden with slow steps, reaching up to hang wind chimes. These are not chores. They are chances to feel alive. If possible, seek out local community centers that offer movement classes for older adults. Many towns have low-cost programs with gentle yoga, swimming, or group walks. But even without those, movement can be a personal ritual. A few minutes after waking, a few stretches before bed. Every little bit matters. The older generations did not exercise for appearance. They moved because they had to. Today we can move because we choose to, and that too is a form of freedom. 8. Walk when you can. Slowing down, saving more. Walking was once a daily rhythm, not a scheduled task. In the days before every household had a car, walking was how people went to school, ran errands, visited friends, or cleared their mind after supper. It was woven into the fabric of life. During the Great Depression, car ownership dropped dramatically. Gasoline was expensive, and families often sold their vehicles or simply parked them for good. Walking and biking became essential. Children walked miles to school. Adults walked to town centers. It was not always easy, but it was normal. And in many ways, it helped keep people healthier, more connected, and more present. Today, walking is often seen as something we have to make time for. But for those looking to save money on gas, reduce stress, and regain a sense of calm, walking can be a gentle return to what once worked. Beyond the financial benefits, walking offers a chance to reconnect with the world, passing a neighbor, and exchanging a wave, noticing the changing leaves, feeling the breeze without a windshield in the way. These small moments are grounding. For older adults, walking is one of the best forms of low-impact exercise. It supports heart health, strengthens bones, improves balance, and clears the mind. Even short walks of 10 to 15 minutes can make a noticeable difference in both physical and emotional well-being. If walking outside feels difficult, indoor alternatives still count. Mall walking, museum strolling, or even pacing around the house while on the phone all keep the body in motion. The goal is not speed or distance, it is consistency. The world has changed. Roads are busier, neighborhoods are more spread out. But wherever and whenever walking is possible, it brings benefits beyond what money can buy. Walking reminds us that life does not need to move so fast. Sometimes, the slow path is the one that keeps us closest to what matters. 9. Do more, buy less. Joy beyond the wallet. There was a time when joy came from doing, not owning. People played card games around the kitchen table, went on picnics with simple sandwiches, and watched the clouds roll by without checking the time. Entertainment did not require a subscription or a shopping cart. It simply required presence. During the 1940s, especially in rural America, money for leisure was scarce. Families made their own fun. Local dances, community potlucks, porch talks that lasted until the stars came out, radio shows and books-filled quiet evenings. These moments cost little, but left rich memories. What is often forgotten is that the Great Depression gave rise to one of the most creative periods in American domestic life. People learned to knit, play instruments, tell stories, write letters, build things with their hands. Necessity unlocked imagination. Today, in a world driven by advertising and endless consumption, it is easy to believe that happiness is something to be bought. But real joy has always come from connection, creativity, and simplicity. And the older we get, the more clear that becomes. Doing more and buying less is not about denying pleasure. It is about choosing it on your own terms. Inviting someone over for tea. Starting a puzzle. Writing a letter to a grandchild. Sitting by the window and watching the world move by. These are not activities in the modern sense, but they are deeply fulfilling. One practical benefit of doing more is reducing clutter. Fewer things to clean, fix, or worry about. More space for calm. And often, when there is less distraction, there is more room to reflect, heal, and grow. Ask what really brings peace at the end of the day. Is it the latest gadget, or the feeling of having lived a day with intention, presence, and purpose? The generation that came before knew the answer, and perhaps now, more than ever, it is time to return to it. 10. Homegrown self-care, the gentle art of looking after yourself. Self-care did not begin with spas, luxury creams, or yoga retreats. It began at home, quietly, simply, and with deep intention. Back in the 1940s, people took care of themselves using what they had: a warm bath, a brush through the hair before bed. Homemade remedies passed down through generations. There was beauty in simplicity and dignity in routine. Long before advertisements told us what we needed to feel good, people already knew. A walk in the fresh air, a few quiet minutes with a book, a cup of tea sipped slowly. These were daily rituals that calmed the mind and restored the spirit. During the Great Depression, even soap was a precious item. Many families made their own from leftover fat and lye, using handed-down recipes. Personal grooming was not about vanity. It was about self-respect. Neatly pressed clothes, clean nails, and brushed shoes were ways to face the world with grace, no matter how little one had. Today, self-care has become a complicated idea. But for those in later years, it does not need to be expensive or time-consuming. It can be as simple as soaking tired feet in warm water with Epsom salt. taking a slow walk in the garden, sitting in silence for a few minutes each morning, writing down 3 things to be grateful for before sleep. These small acts say, I matter, not to the world, not to a market, but to oneself. Mental self-care matters just as much. Turning off the news, unplugging from social media, choosing moments of stillness instead of noise. Protecting peace becomes more essential with age. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every fear needs feeding. And perhaps the most underrated form of self-care? Letting go of comparison. The person next door may travel more, spend more, or have more. But the richest moments are often the ones no one else sees. A quiet evening at home, a smile shared across the table, the comfort of knowing who you are without needing applause. In earlier times, people did not talk much about wellness. They simply lived in ways that supported it. They took care of their homes, their families, their faith, and themselves. And maybe that's the most powerful lesson of all. Taking care of yourself at any age is not selfish. It is wise, it is strong, and it is necessary, especially when the world gets loud. Thank you for spending this time here. If this brought value to your heart, share it with someone who might need it too. Until next time, stay warm, stay wise, and stay wonderfully you.